Good evening, guys, and welcome to my presentation for Personal Fitness Training 1121. Today we're going to be talking about overconsumption of protein. Now, we've all probably gone to the gym. We've all probably, met people that have been going to the gym a lot longer than us, or just are a bit more fit than us, and have given us advice such as you can never have too much protein in your diet, or something along those lines. Whether you're trying to gain weight or lose weight, protein is always a great option to have large quantities of, and it can't do anything bad to you. Well, I'm just going to kind of go over what really happens inside the body when we do ingest a protein and the kind of things that we might experience. So before we get started, we need to understand what is a protein. Now, a protein is a large cluster of amino acids. And our body requires these proteins or amino acids on a daily basis to help us rebuild and restore our cells, such as muscle tissue, ligaments, even bones. Our nails and our hair, they're both created from a protein base called keratin. So our entire body is pretty much protein. There's certain proteins that our body can create. There's certain proteins that our body requires us to get externally. Now, where can we get these proteins from? What is a great source? Well, initially, we only had two options for the proteins. First one being plant-based protein, such as legumes, whole grains, nuts, and other types that we'd find in the wild. Second one, most common one, more efficient, much more efficient than the plant-based, because you don't require to eat as much to get the same amount, is the animal-based protein, so poultry, cattle, fish, eggs, etc., etc., etc. And more recently, we've developed a third option: protein supplements. So whey protein, isolate protein, casein. All these are great options. Each one is kind of tailored for a different result at the end. The biggest, most important thing that came about when we started introducing protein supplements, when it was initially created, it was intended to help people meet their daily quota for for their protein consumption on a daily basis, or meeting their meeting their quota. Now, the best part about the protein supplements, it was very quick, it was very convenient. You could just take a cup of protein, take a glass, throw your protein in there, shake it up, or stir it up, and you've already got your protein. And you can get either 20 to 40 grams of protein in one go, and which is the maximum that our body can intake at any one given time. Anyways, so what is the overconsumption theory? So if our body has a lot of protein all the time, we will always have protein synthesized and ready. So when we do work out, or when our muscles and tissues break down, we can automatically repair them, and we will never enter catabolysis, which stems from a Greek word pretty much meaning to break down. So the overall ideology behind it is more proteins equals more gains, bro. Okay, moving on. What are the effects of overusing the protein? So when we ingest protein and we start breaking it down, a byproduct of that is nitrogen inside our bodies. Now, nitrogen can be very acidic, and our body doesn't really like it, so we try to excrete it or find other ways of getting rid of it. One is a process called bone reabsorption. So we take calcium out of our bones to help kind of buffer out the nitrogen and keep that pH balance inside our body. This also requires us to use large amounts of large amounts of water from our kidneys, so causing a large strain on the kidneys, causing a large strain on our body overall, and it also causes dehydration. Now, when we have a case of dehydration, our body can't really survive more than 3 days when it comes down to lack of water. But at the same time, if we don't have a lot of water and we're working out and we're doing very strenuous physical activity, we can also get muscle cramps and other types of issues inside our body. Now, other things that I've come across in my research was there was a correlation between overuse of protein, so large quantities of ingesting large quantities of protein, to prostate cancer and a few other cancers as well, but prostate being the main one. Now, it was found out that red meats tended to have larger turnouts for the prostate cancer when ingesting those types of proteins, but overall more protein tended to equal more likelihood of acquiring the cancer. And now the very worst one, and I mean the absolute worst on this list, we're going to be talking about when you have too much protein and you don't have enough water, you end up having a very, very bad poop, and that's not great. Moving on. What is the optimum source for protein? So grass-fed lean meats, essentially all natural, pastured out cattle, pigs, or whatever, and poultry, chickens, etc., and their eggs. Another great alternative would be legumes, nuts, whole grains, so more of the plant-based stuff. And something to keep in mind is you never want to put all your eggs in one basket. Our body does require essential amino acids, which is something that we can't get naturally inside our body, which is what we get from the proteins. And not all plant proteins have what a animal protein would have, and vice versa. Not all animal proteins will have exactly what we need from a plant-based protein. Now, developing your body overall has always been a number game, and it will always be a number game. So first we need to know what we need for our body to grow. We do need the protein, we do need to ingest the right amount of calories, whether it's a larger amount or not quite as much as we're ingesting right now to lose weight. So some things that people have received as tips for advice is maybe like something like a harder high carb diet, or a high sodium lifestyle is another bad thing that I've seen and met people that actually do kind of go through. So a high carb diet, if you're trying to get a six pack or you're trying to get very lean, probably something that you're gonna want to avoid. But not eating your carbs at all can also have serious side effects to you as well. So really kind of keep that in mind. The high sodium lifestyle people end up eating processed foods, end up getting those canned foods, and they tend to contain larger quantities of sodium, and sodium all in itself is a whole other beast, so let's talk about that another time. But these are just some things that we need to keep in mind when we have large quantities of anything. So let's talk about our recommended amount of protein that we should ingest on a daily basis. So for one, according to Canada's Food Guide, a recommended amount for protein would be 1 gram of protein for every every kilogram of body weight. So if I weigh 155 pounds, which a lot of people are more accustomed to dealing with, I weigh about 70.3-ish kilograms. Now, 1 gram equals how much protein I'm supposed to have, so I should have about 70.3 grams of protein on a daily basis to help sustain my body. Now, that's also keeping in mind that I should have different types of essential amino acids to help stimulate healthy growth. But if you don't believe me, how about you try it out for yourself? Because some people have been recommending that people try eating 1 gram for every 1 pound of 1 gram of protein for every 1 pound of body weight that they weigh, or even more than that on a daily basis. So for example, 155 pounds is 155 grams of protein. That's a lot, and it can be both costly as well as it can be very, very dangerous for your body because of all the side effects that we've just talked about. Or you can also have the option of just not doing that and avoid yourself the possibility of having some really, really bad poops and have a great lifestyle, you know, by keeping up with all the water that you're supposed to ingest. Now, in conclusion, things that we should keep in mind: too much of anything is always going to be a bad thing, and not all protein sources are going to be the same, but too much red meat can definitely lead us to some very dangerous outcomes at the end. So be mindful of what you're really going for, and what you ingest really does affect. So if we're trying to lose weight, right, carbs are probably going to be more of something that we're going to try and cut down on, not so much fats or the amino acids. And if we're trying to gain weight, right, then it's probably more of a carb thing that we're going to want to ingest more of, or a bit more of the protein, but not by too much, right? Not to the extent that we're overloading our body. And let's keep in mind, we all need the essential amino acids to survive. So not having any protein on a daily basis is also a very bad thing. So these are some of my list of references right here. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's been so much fun making this video for you guys. Hope to see you again soon. Have a great night.